Welcome to the channel, everyone. Instagram, we follow along for most of this. We do our best to post over on YouTube, which is the easiest place for me to track all the comments. So if you guys have any questions, join me over there on Multifamily Strategy on YouTube. And everyone else, welcome to the show. Today I'm going to give some updates. Just got back from Moses Lake, Central Washington. Cody's still over there working on a project. But we closed on a few deals. I was in Mexico last week. If you missed that live, go ahead and check that out. But in Mexico, signed for a 33-unit hotel conversion, taking a motel, bringing it to multifamily, and had the opportunity to sign for a mobile home park, which we'll update on later. Conversion is super fun. So we got to walk through the hotel. I'm going to be posting some videos of this shortly. But there are some problems, which is what happens when you buy 33 units for $1.6 million in Washington State. There's a few leaks. They're small, but there's a few leaks. There's some rooms that are just absolutely trashed. We took about 10 dump runs out today. Carpet's getting removed. Cody is installing installing the glue down LVP with a couple friends right now. But we're going to be taking this big ugly building, and we're going to get it all into monthly leases, or 6-month to 12-month leases, going from the weekly rate to, hey, we're a full-on multifamily building. City has approved it. But the project is going to be super, super intense, doing paint, floors, walls, appliances, toilets, adding kitchenettes. Looks like we're going to do some of the mini splits throughout the building. And it's been really crazy. Filling in a pool. We're going to build a community garden out in the front, which I think is going to look gorgeous. But man, we saw some stuff last night. Some of the tenants are weird. We saw the weirdest looking cat that we've ever seen in my life in the old pool house that has the heater. And the light system to turn on the lights at night is the oldest electrical system I've ever seen. Cody only got electrocuted once there. It was absolutely wild. So week one was kind of crazy. Got everyone onboarded. A lot of these tenants are paying $1,100 a month to live there as a weekly rental. And some of them live there for a long time. To get them on leases, we're moving them to $800 a month. So for a lot of people, we're reducing what they pay to sign a lease. It is going to be fantastic for our books. It's going to add stability, and most people are going to say yes because we are lowering their price. So getting those signatures in this week, we are very excited to go ahead and start putting the project together and to officially get this thing rolling. Target is to get the basic renovations and leasability done over the next few months. We're going to install gutters on the building, and we would like to see this thing refinanced in 6 months. We have a bank that has already given us a commitment, but we have to hit our targets and get enough of these units leased. Once we're seeing about 25 of the 33 leased, I think we're going to go ahead and get everything passed, and then we're going to finish the building. When it is done, we bought for 1.6. Very conservatively, going to be worth 2.9. More realistically, probably coming in at a $3.2, $3.3 million fully renovated rate, which is going to put us in an excellent spot. Now, it's tempting for a lot of people to lever these to the max, just pull out a whole bunch of cash. What we want to do is actually come in and try to stay at a fairly low leverage point and just make this thing a cash flow monster. So spend as little as we can. We call this functional flipping. We're getting in, making the units nice, making them aesthetic, but doing it on a budget. Get the whole place rented with the cash flow, continue to renovate and improve the building until we have one of the nicest buildings in the city, just done out of cash flow. You do it over time, you do it phase by phase, but phase one, floors, paint, appliances, kitchenettes, toilets. Phase two, mini splits, fix the one area on the roof that should be fixed, add gutters, exterior paint. Phase three, sweep back in, probably replace some doors, get the office up and running, get a lease in the office. And once you have a full building, 33 units all under one roof, paved parking, community garden, this place is going to be absolutely amazing. And it's on the main drag in Moses. So that is our project for the week. I'm really grateful that Cody's still out there with a couple people working on that. I had to come home for a quick family emergency. However, that has all been settled, and away we go. I will not be answering questions with that emergency. However, very grateful to have a duo where both people can put in the work and grind. I'll be heading back to Moses Lake later in the week, getting more footage for everyone. So I'm going to answer a couple of the questions here as they come in. As always, ask questions. We'll go till the questions end. YouTube's the best place to post those. That being said, Instagram, I see you here, and I do see a question here, so I will answer it. Why lower the rent? Why lower the rent? Because the entire deal works, and we'll get financed on $800 rents. I'd rather get leases signed and get the project rolling and just stabilize the income. I will value the stability. So the trade here is we're going to get people to do a termed lease, and the trade for the termed lease is that we're going to bring rent down to where we realistically need it to be. And over time, we'll work these back up. It's good to have a proof of concept where we know people pay $1,100 to live here. That being said, stability is everything. Let's go ahead and get this thing leased up. We'll sign new leases at a higher rate, but for the existing people, I want to keep as many people as we can as long as we can. Stabilize, get through the first refinance, get our long-term debt product. We're borrowing at 13.5%. We funded this thing 100% loan to purchase price. So we got a six-figure budget to start our renovations, but we're borrowing really expensive money. The rush here is let's go ahead, run the project, get through the refinance. We're gonna, less than half the interest rate, which is gonna make cash flow look really, really strong, and then just continue to hammer out the building. Really fun. We did a 38-plex in Moses as our first deal. We bought it for $2 million. It's now worth $4.1 million on appraisal. And that's before we did a whole bunch of renovations there. It's probably worth a little bit more today. Even after the market correction, we leased a lot more units since we had that last appraisal. This is basically a carbon copy of that deal, except it's all under one roof. The parking's paved. It's on a better street. And I wouldn't say the grounds are any better. It's a little smaller square footage as far as acreage. But we've done this project before and had $2 million of upside. We bought this one for $400,000 less than we bought our 38, so we're coming in very similar price per unit. We're just a couple of years in the future. Rents are higher now. I think this project may end up being the best project we've ever done. It's very exciting. All right. Cruising through the YouTube questions here, by the way. And I am looking quickly through the other platforms, making sure we don't miss anyone there. But if you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere else, feel free to hop over to the YouTube live stream, Multifamily Strategy on YouTube. All right, the Billy Bunch. Hey, Christian. Maybe it's me, but you don't appear in focus. Well, I work on that with the camera. I am trying a few different things, and I have rearranged the setup, so we have a much nicer setup here on my end. However, if I'm not quite in focus, I do apologize. We'll do our best to correct that moving forward. From Edwin, is there a percentage amount you use to estimate closing based off the purchase price? It totally depends on the deals. If you're talking seller finance, which is a majority of what we do, if we're using seller financing, it's going to be very, very low for closing costs. You're going to have basically whatever your legal fees are, which are custom to the deal, and you're going to have your title fees. You don't have like points that you pay to a lender like you would a bank. If you're doing a conventional finance deal, 2-3% of the deal may be wrapped into the total closing cost, so that'd be something to factor for. But very, very minimal if you're doing any sort of creative finance where you're not going through the bank. Majority of your closing fees end up going to the lender. That is the big piece of closing. What the Camuchu landlords only raise rent? Not us. This is the second time we've done this, by the way. Our other hotel, which I'm going to give you guys an update on right after this question. The other hotel conversion, we actually lowered rent on all of them, and we got some great tenants to sign leases, and it worked really well. It stabilized the property. It was a really good experience for us. So highly, highly recommend if you're doing a hotel conversion, you're probably getting a premium for the short-term rents. As you do the conversion, if you're doing a larger project, we have a 24 unit and a 33 unit hotel conversion, go for stability first. Like, underwrite your deal and figure out where you need rents to be, and then just go get that. You don't need to shoot for the moon. Your goal is to occupy immediately. You can always raise rents later as you make the building nicer. When you're stabilizing, vacancy costs more than you're going to get out of raising rents or stabilizing rents. If we can just fill the building, that solves all the problems. Then we can work on the pricing. The 24 unit hotel, by the way, that is the one that had about 19 units just get absolutely demolished with pipe bursts. That was expensive. As far as fixing the pipes, we got the pipes fixed. Water could be turned back on. However, the building's vacant again. We just got insurance in there. Cody did a walkthrough today for us. He said it was absolutely catastrophic. We got wavy floors. We got ceilings down, insulations everywhere. It is a wreck. We are expecting a huge insurance payout, which is a bummer. That means insurance is going to go way up. However, this is what you have insurance for For those wondering, by the way, when you have a pipe burst, pipes are considered standard wear and tear. Almost no insurance will cover the pipe repair. However, any collateral damage, which is most of your problems with pipe burst, covered by insurance. This one had a builder's policy. Deductible is relatively low. This is going to be sizable. You don't want a lot of these, because if you have a lot of these claims, you can become uninsurable. This happens very rarely to us, but this is the third time ever we've had to file anything for insurance. Keep these to a minimum, but this is why you get insured. This would be absolute loss of building had we not got the right insurance. One of the streets, you're coming to Atlanta. Super excited. Yes, I am. I'm going to be up in, speaking in the Buckhead area of Atlanta. This can be end of this month, February 27th. I'm extremely excited. Only been to Atlanta a couple times, but I love it there. Also, going to bring my wife. We're going to check out the aquarium, which apparently is absolutely phenomenal. So Atlanta, watch out. We're on our way. If anyone wants to join us, I'm going to be posting to my Instagram at Christian Osgood all the details. I just got a marketing package for that today. So after this, I'll go ahead and post, and everyone will know the when, where, and how for seeing us in Atlanta. Everyone who's driving distance would love to see people live. What are the things I don't know about refinancing with a bank? Renovating a 10 unit. If you don't have bank debt for commercial debt, it's going to be harder. I see a lot of the deals that fall through. Banks are really slow to refinance when you don't have a lot of bank debt. Once you have some bank debt, it's a lot easier. That's been our experience. I've seen that same experience with a lot of other people. Hunter, I'm coming to NYC on, I know this. April 2nd. I'm speaking it's in New Jersey, but I am actually coming out there. New Jersey is going to be the next one. Speaking in Atlanta, going home, speaking in San Diego, and then I'll be making the run up to New Jersey. So keep an eye out for that. A whole speaking schedule is going to be pretty consistently posted on Instagram. So at Christian Osgood, follow over there. But Hunter, I'll be seeing you soon. Speaking with Henry Washington up there too, who's a good friend and awesome investor. So join that event. Let's see here. So I'm sorry, going back to the bank question. That's the biggest thing. Banks are fairly easy to get through once you've done it once. Just buckle in, get through this one. And as you get a little farther along, Luke, they get easier and easier and easier. Other thing that you should know, they're not going to walk through all 10 units. You can do a good job of cherry picking which units you get them through. Try to push that valuation by really cherry picking. Here's my 5 favorite units. All right. What are some of your favorite go-to items that you use in your functional flips, such as glue down LVP? I love glue down LVP, and if you have concrete floors, sometimes you can do the ones that come with their own underlay on them, and they're just stick down, which is great. You peel and stick them. It sounds cheap, but they look amazing, and they're easy. When you get damaged, you can peel them up, replace them. Just make sure that you have extras on hand. Otherwise, you negate the whole bonus of I have replaceable parts. If you don't have the exact piece to replace them with, kind of useless. That is really, really helpful. Neutral colors. This is not an Airbnb. You're not doing short or midterm rentals. You're not trying to do something trendy. You're trying to create housing for people that they can make it their own space. So whites, grays. I've actually seen a really tactful blue used, though I recommend against it because painting over blue is a pain when that goes out of style. Basic neutral colors. Use the same paint in every single unit for your portfolio. Find something that works for you that is consistent, and use the same interior paint everywhere. Same ceiling paint for every unit, same wall paint for every unit. A big thing that we always do is we use, I believe it is eggshell. My wife knows this better than I do. She is our captain of functional flipping. But we use a lower but medium gloss paint. It's going to be resistant to a lot of the general wear and tear and stuff that gets on it. The higher the gloss, the more resistance it has. But you want to make sure that you get the exact same paint, exact same gloss. If you mix those, you have to redo an entire wall or a whole entire unit. That's kind of a pain. If you know, hey, I have X amount of gallons of this on hand, you can come in and very, very, very quickly paint your units, have uniformity. But a lot of the functional flipping, your biggest cost savings are from having uniform replaceable pieces that are uniform across the entire portfolio. I also try going for the same electrician with the same panels everywhere. So as we replace things and upgrade things, everything starts to look very similar. I have the same people and the same layouts and the same equipment and the same countertops across the portfolio for all the similar style units. And by doing that, it makes a huge difference in your cost. Same with windows, same with mini splits. Replaceable parts is the key to functional flipping. Glue down LVP is still my favorite though. We never try to throw anyone under the bus, but we had a contractor use click together flooring. Waterproof click together in one of Cody's units. It's a basement unit. And it's like we mentioned, hey, they didn't do what you ordered. If it floods, it will be a problem. And so Cody's response was, well, hopefully it doesn't flood. It flooded. It ruined the floors. It's going to be an expensive repair. That glue down LVP, I swear that stuff is the magic. Entry to mid-level rentals. It looks really nice and it works really, really well. Manual. What? And white gray paint. What do you do for kitchen countertops, cabinets, appliances? Kitchen countertops, we use a lot of the Formica stuff. Find nice countertops in a neutral color. One thing we did wrong is we did awesome stone countertops across our entire portfolio when we first started. So we're doing renovations. We had these amazing countertops that are beautiful. And what we saw, no change in rent at all. We spent way more. When they get damaged, they're way more expensive to replace. No one cared. For entry level, they want something that looks nice. It doesn't have to be the nicest material. So you don't want to use stuff that's going to get abused, chipped, dyed. You want to, again, it's the replaceable part thing. So nice laminate countertops that are well done, that are consistent. We have a lot of the black and white ones that kind of look marble-esque, that look good in pretty much every unit, especially if you have white or gray tones throughout. One more tip my wife always reminds me. If you have smaller units, you really want to go for light colors on the flooring. So we're looking for the lighter grays, the tan tones. It makes the whole space feel better. On a 300 square feet all the way up to 900 square foot units, you want them to feel as big as possible. I love dark floors. My entire house has dark floors. My last house had dark floors. I love the feel. They're not ideal for rentals. They make it feel cozier and smaller. Smaller is not something that you want to feel, especially if you're in a unit that is not huge. If you're talking about renting a duplex where each side is 1,500 square feet, you have more options on what you want to do for floor and wall colors. Troy Roberts just bought a duplex that had one tenant that we were not allowed to contact until close of sale. Tenant was month to month and said the listing agent, we would sign a lease for existing rent. Finally got in contact after sale. They found a new place because they thought they were going to get evicted. I don't like anything squirrely with leases on acquisition. I actually had this happen on a deal that I'm looking to buy right now. They actually came in and said, hey, the manager said, hey, we're going to place a tenant, even though the contract says that we have to confer with you. And I said, well, if you're going to place a tenant, then you go through my background check, and then you can be a certain price. That broker was flabbergasted at the price that we were asking for. And the amazing thing is, it wasn't very much money. We were asking for a fairly low price for the property, and they just, the rent was about $200 under what we're getting from market, literally across the street. Absolutely insane, but they wanted to place a tenant in there at a just crazy poor rate. I don't like messing around with anyone else's leases, anyone else's contracts. Tenant, there's a perfect example. Tenant thought they were going to get evicted. They weren't, but you weren't allowed to contact them, so you just lost the tenant. That's a bummer. That happens a lot. Sorry that happened. That's one of the things that I do in all of my PSAs. I make sure I have a lot of control over the leasing. They're not allowed to place new tenants without consulting me. I get to see the background checks. Once it's under contract, we are making the assumption that we're going to close, and so get as much control as you can on those. Building a bunch of dehumidifiers do wonders, get them running ASAP. We are, unfortunately, at our hotel where it flooded and everything just collapsed and awful. Concrete block walls. There's a few that had some really nice drywall on the side, over the concrete block that, that's gone. But overall, brick building or concrete block, it has a, the red roof. It's a tile style roof. I don't know the name of it. but you have a really nice, basically invincible building. The only things that are ruined are the subfloors and the ceilings, which is a lot because all the electricity that goes through there, all your light fixtures done. A lot of those units were furnished, furniture's done, floors are absolutely done. It's going to be a lot to fix, but your actual structure, basically invincible. We have a really good shell to work in for this. Dehumidifier would be good. Thoughts on syndication? Syndication is interesting. I think it has a huge problem that a lot of people think they should start with 100-unit buildings. They've been marketed as, hey, syndication, this is a way to get in without your own money, raise capital from others. Biggest problem. Syndicators get paid up front. You have all sorts of fees you bake into this. Your management fee. And that's to manage the manager, by the way. That's not like they're managing the property. You have a management fee. You have an acquisition fee. You have a disposition fee when you sell the property. You get a bunch of fees, whether or not your investors make money. I like to see goals aligned with results. And I don't always see that in syndication. You get a large chunk of money up front. Things I like about syndication, there's a lot of room for creativity. You go, you negotiate. You can adjust your cash flow, how much equity you're willing to give, if people are paid out on the back end, like how heavy they're paid out on exit, and how much cash flow they get through the deal. There's a lot of pieces that are very much like standard creative finance. Syndication has a ton of room for creativity. That being said, not my favorite strategy. I don't believe it is a good strategy for beginners. I don't like a lot of syndicators, but there's some good ones out there. Someone who is worth looking into, if you're looking for great syndicators, Terrence Doyle. He's out of Denver, fantastic operator, gets some crazy returns on his deals. He's a very good underwriter. He has a fantastic team. He is worth following. There are great people playing this game. Another use for syndication that I've actually looked at, is we have deals that we bought, trade financed, where we might want to change the deal structure. And sometimes on a larger deal, you can go ahead and crowdsource and do what's called a recapitalization. I can basically buy the deal again for myself. We've actually looked at doing this on a property where I had a partner who wanted to be bought out very early and had really generous offer for what we could buy them out for. Like, hey, if I can get bought out, I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to do something else with my money. My plans have changed, which is just fine. That happens from time to time. We also had some ideas for the property that would cost more money than we initially thought. We want to take it to a different level than we did when we bought it. I had the wrong capital structure to do that. So we actually are looking at syndication as a potential recapitalization. We'll essentially buy the deal from ourselves in a syndication. If we were to do this, we may not. But we would syndicate, buy the deal from ourselves, redo the deal, pay out the investors, and write a new capital structure that works well for our deal. So syndication should be a tool in your tool belt, should not be your primary mode of acquisition. Audio quality sounds different. Mason, I'm curious if it sounds better or worse. I am trying a new mic with a new setup. My old mic died, so it's not like I had a choice, but this is the new mic. I'm curious how it sounds. I'm also very stuffed up, so if I sound more nasally, that is my fault. If the audio sounds bad, let me know. People can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat. That will also let me know how we're doing. Zach, what does your business structure look like? Just watched your stream with the Lumberjack Landlord from a while back. Lots of good info. Business structure. So I have a few businesses. For multifamily real estate, Cody and I are partnered. We have a holding company that now buys everything that we're 50-50 on. So we have one company that holds a majority of the equity in our different LLCs. So you have a holding company. Each acquisition has its own LLC, or at least each partnership does. Some partnerships have bought multiple buildings. But on a structure, very, very simple. Cody and I come in under a holding company. Say we own 50% of a deal. Our 50% is owned by our company, which is really nice because it can now move capital around the portfolio correctly without commingling because it is the owner of the LLCs. Most acquisitions have their own LLC, or at least each partnership does. And all of those are just LLCs in parallel. They all file their own K1, also known as a Form 1065. Those all roll to your personal tax return, easy to document, easy to do, keeps the books clean and separate. On property management, I own that company. That one has an in-market employee. My wife and I both work in that company. And that is where we run a lot of our maintenance teams, coordination, renovations, rent collection, that all runs through there. The resort has its own employees. So I have a director of the Robin Hood, a director of maintenance, and we have employees. In the winter, we run a staff of 4. In the summer, we run a staff of 8. That's the bulk of the universe. Multifamily Strategy is a company where Cody and I are teaching people how to play the game. We mentor, we have on calls 3 times a week. That is still Cody and I. I have a marketing team that helps me get the word out to people. They are a contractor. It is a 2-man show. Multifamily Strategy is fun. You will start to see more of my wife, Danny, on there. She's talking about the functional flipping, managing contractors. Cody and I could not be where we're at without her. She is the one who actually makes honestly, she makes all the money. We find the deals, we manage the deals, we onboard, we talk about it, we teach, we swing the hammer. But at the end of the day, the contractors, the coordination, who gets the bills paid? Danny Osgood. She's a freak of nature, and she works in the PM company with me and will be contributing more to this channel soon. Very excited to have her on more often. My wife is awesome. She's my egregiously better half. Change is the game. When does it make sense to use less leverage? When you want more cash flow. When you're building your portfolio, you want to keep DSCR really high. I like to stay around 1.5 while you're building. So you have way more income than you have expenses. That is really important. So we keep that in check at all times. Once you've built a portfolio that gets you to where you want to go, I would start delevering as fast as possible. There is no better investment than paid off real estate, but you can't start with paid off real estate. We do not have an economic system that lets you do that. Most people do not start rich. I didn't start rich. I had built up my income and then learned that my income did not buy me any real estate. I got my income all the way up to $250,000 a year in sales and realized that bought me a house and 2 duplexes. That did not make me rich. I thought it would. That's what I believed when I went to school. We built a lot of wealth when we learned how to just find a deal and then line up the debt and equity and do it again and again and again and again. So that was that's what I found there. But as soon as you can delever, we will have all of our portfolio paid off. It's about a $30 million portfolio. We are already starting to wind down debt actively in our portfolio right now. From the YouTube channel here, I am a realtor in Canada and cannot see the seller details. So would I put in an offer on property and then find an investor to help out with down payment during the conditional period? Yes. Always deal the debt and equity, no matter where you're at. Get the deal under contract. You're going to do due diligence. You're going to be finding out new things. You do not know enough about a deal to raise the capital or find an investor until you have a deal under contract. So stage 1, find the deal. Stage 2, get it under contract, and then you start doing due diligence and capital raise and the other pieces come together. But always keep it in that order. Any book/podcast recommendations? Yes. Podcast, Lumberjack Landlord. He is my mentor, Matt Hawkins. When I get stuck, he is the one I call. He is amazing. He's very, very smart. Dropped out in 9th grade, and I think that was the right call because he's too smart for school. That guy is a genius. Follow him. His channel is way too small. Book. There's 2, and neither of them are real estate books, by the way. You want to learn real estate, watch this channel, watch YouTube. Join Multifamily Strategy. I'd love to see you there. If you want to learn the skills, Jordan Belfort, Way of the Wolf, straight line selling. It will teach you how to script, how to pitch, how to really present yourself in a way where you become an obvious buyer for anything. There are principles in that book that are so simple, and they're going to treat you very well. The other big piece in there is tonality. The way you talk to people, the confidence that you can communicate is going to get you deals. I think that's the most valuable book I've read. Second favorite book, also a sales book. Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. There's sales and there's negotiation. This is a negotiation book. It is fantastic on how you actually get what you want out of your deal. Neither are real estate books. They're both sales related. But if you can open, negotiate, and close, that is a majority of the real estate game. Management, Learn that from a mentor. I would not learn property management from a book. Learn that from a YouTube channel. Learn that from someone in your market doing what you want to do, or join a group where you can ask questions actively. For the getting into real estate, best two books are actually just books on sales. Do you always lose earnest money if you back out of the deal during due diligence? No, you never lose earnest money if you back out during due diligence. I've never seen that before. Earnest money is money you put up, but due diligence gives you a clear out for a contract. Heiner just started listening to Away of the Wolf, by the way. I just saw that in the chat on the Instagram over here. Heiner, it's a good book. By the way, if you do the Way of the Wolf book, audiobook is the way to do it. He talks a bunch about tonality. It is really hard to read about tonality. If you listen to it, it is massively better. Absolutely better. Back to due diligence. When you do due diligence, you have a period where essentially you go under contract under the assumption that what the seller gave you is true. As you're verifying stuff, you may find that rents aren't what they promised. You find problems with the building. Due diligence is there to protect your earnest money. We rarely ever back out of a deal, but we have backed out of several during due diligence because we found that assumptions were not true. It changed the deal, and that's where you either renegotiate or you back out. Earnest money is, generally speaking, safe during the due diligence period. And if you have more contingency, sometimes you have a financing contingency that allows, even after due diligence. I'm going to hop through Instagram really quick, get caught up here because I do see some great questions here that I want to make sure are answered. Should most goals to deliver be based on when cash flow hits a specific goal? So this is with goal setting in real estate, and this is really important. When you are setting your goals, you want to make sure, one, it's something that's going to push you, that makes a difference when you attain it. So the significance of your goal is the most important thing. Then you want to go, okay, to reach that goal, when we're talking about investing is about creating an income stream. We want an asset. Assets create income. Liabilities reduce income. We want to pick up liabilities smaller than our assets. So we want to keep doing that again and again and again. So yes, your goal should always be based on cash flow, but it can't just be, I want to get to $10,000 a month. For me, it was, I want to retire my wife, and I want to work full-time in real estate in my companies instead of selling for someone else. To do that, I needed to create a $20,000 a month income stream that replaces my wife's income, replaces my income, and allows me to more or less live the life that I want to live. The only other thing that I wanted to do was buy a house in Texas. Foundation is being poured tomorrow. We were able to hit those goals only because we had a very clearly defined numerical target of, I can do this when I hit $20,000 a month consistently every month. Now, we've passed that by quite a bit now, but that is the goal that I set out with, and that is very, very important. Recommendations on real estate attorneys, someone who owns real estate or who represents a lot of the other people in your market. The referrals for attorneys are so important because there are so many bad attorneys. There are so many attorneys that suck, and it's almost all of them. Find the best one. You're probably going to fire the first few that you get. You will find your team, but the biggest thing is find someone who has owned real estate themselves. Very important. Back to you, YouTube. By the way, if you're watching on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn or any of these other channels, hop over to YouTube. That's the main feed. YouTube Live. Multifamily Strategy. Change the game. Tips for value add. Don't over-improve a property. Real estate needs to pay for the real estate. There's usually phases. If you want to get a really, really nice building, you need to do this in phases. Keep it very, very simple, but you're going to do things based in this order every time. First, safety. You do not want to be sued, but more importantly, you're trying to provide a nice place to live. Things that are a safety hazard to your tenants should be addressed first before anything else. That means correct lighting outside, no slip hazards. If there are outlets that are obviously electrical hazard, fix them. Basic stuff like that. Next, you're going to go into livability. So once safety is addressed, which is the main thing, we're going to go into livability. What things would prevent someone from wanting to live here? Let's go knock those all out. So do you have ugly carpet in every unit? Let's take that out. Are your fridges functional but a little rusty? Remove them. Put a nice fridge in there. Our preference is a black fridge. They look nicer than white fridges. They cost less and last longer than stainless steel. Stainless steel, if that gets dented, is ruined. Black, you can get away with a little bit more. Entry level, that's the target. But those are the types of tips for value add where how do we, I say this all the time now, functional flipping. That's my wife's thing. How do we do this functionally and have the most impact? Address safety, address livability. That will eliminate your vacancy. If you have a safe place that is nice to live, you'll get your income up. Out of that income, you can start doing the nicer things, which is the optimization phase of real estate. That's where we can go back and say, hey, now that everyone's renting and the interior looks nice, we need to repaint or reside the building. We can make the building nicer and optimize the building. We can add a community garden. We can add whatever it is that your property needs. We have some friends at Growing Homes out of Florida, awesome company. They do crazy landscaping, sustainable fruit trees everywhere. They're a whole like community living. Let's all come in, big fruit. It's an awesome brand. It's a really cool mission. That sort of stuff is optimization. If you have stabilized a building and you have a fully rented building, you can go through and make it a really cool, unique place to live. And those things can take a good property and make it a fantastic property. But keep them in order. Don't do everything all at once. Do it out of cash flow. Focus on eliminating vacancy, safety, livability. Nail those, then go into optimization. All right, going to the next one. Getting some good feedback on the mic, by the way. I'll move that a little farther away, see if that helps. Keep letting me know where we're at. I will get this thing optimized eventually, I promise. My last one, I had to speak a lot closer to it, so we will get this down. Thank you for the help. How long is due diligence typically? Depends on the building. If you're doing something simple, so say you're doing due diligence on a fourplex, a couple weeks, 14 days, that's pretty normal. That's more than enough time to review the bank statements. I always have it start your due diligence countdown after all documents have been received. So I send a list of here are the documents that I need. I need to see estoppel letters. I need to see bank statements. I need to see leases. If we can get all that going, we're ready to rock. Let's go. Now the 14-day feasibility will start. On something like our hotel, 33 units, older building, lots to look at, need a full inspection. I believe we had 30 days on that. So it will depend on the project. Robin Hood, which is a massive resort, 12.5 acres, 18 individual cabins. I think a few of them are duplex and triplex. I'm thinking through all the units. You have on that campus, I think you have like 15 individual buildings. That takes a lot longer. I think we had a 60-day feasibility on that one. So it will depend, but make sure that countdown starts once you've received everything that you need. Otherwise, I've seen people wait, like sellers wait till the last week of a 30-day feasibility to get you everything you need to really start feasibility. That's not helpful at all. I just realized I moved the mic in a way that probably just completely blocked me on Instagram. Instagram, I apologize. Should you have a mixture of room types or just look for apartments and stick to one? People have a lot of mixed thoughts on this, and I've seen bigger pockets weigh in very heavily on, hey, there's a best unit mix. You want 3-bed, 2-bath, people stick around, it's awesome. Here's my opinion on this. We bought a lot of studios and 1-beds when we started, and now I get to control studio and 1-bed rent. Like, we have such a huge proportion of them in our market. When I set rent somewhere, it's just what the market is. I really liked the power to control that specific class. That being said, I'm now trying to pick up more 2s and 3s because when tenants move out, I want to have somewhere else to move them. I like to keep great people in our portfolio, but as people expand, maybe they make more, maybe they start a family, you want other places to move people around in the portfolio. When you're starting though, do not worry about the bed bath count. It is not what makes or breaks the deal. Where I get worried about it is if you are competing with a bunch of other people who are good operators and they all have, for example, say everyone on your street has 2-bed, 1-baths. And there's a few vacancies on market and they seem like pretty good operators. They're priced competitively. You're going to start competing with people that you have the exact same inventory. Supply and demand, you're going to have some difficulties there. Now, if everything is being leased up, no worries. But you need to just know what your competition is. Another thing that I used to help people a lot when they were building, so when I worked for the CoStar Group, we'd look at this with developers all the time. We're running searches for what everyone else has. If all the buildings next door are 1 beds, we're probably going to build 2 beds because we're going to add something new to the market. So just figure out where the biggest opportunity is, but don't let that be the deciding factor of your deal. Your main thing is how big of a need for housing is there in that market, which is measured by population growth over time. Still young, credit score is not so strong. Our sellers are usually fixated on this. I've never had a seller ask me for my credit score. Never happened. I've had someone ask for a background check once, which came back great because I don't have a criminal history. Credit does not matter in seller financing. Never had it come up, especially if you can build a relationship with that seller. Credit never comes up. We've had people, I haven't even had people ask for proof of funds. I've only had that happen one time where they said, hey, do you have the money for this? And my answer was, sure don't. Here's how I'm going to raise it. And I sent them my schedule of real estate and said, here's all the deals that I've closed. I didn't have money for these either. This is what we're going to do. But rarely comes up. Your age doesn't matter. Cody started at 19. Caleb started at 19. There's a lot of people. Start really young. Age won't matter. Credit score does not matter on seller financing. If you have a plan, so say you have a seller finance in 5 years, you want to make sure that you have a clear plan of how you're handling your credit over the next few years to convert to conventional. Don't do a 2-year note if you have weak credit right now, because it's going to be hard to refi. But keep those things in mind. You'll be fine. Any property management channels to learn from? I talk a lot about it here. I actually ask your questions here on the live, and ask me on Instagram any day of the week at Christian Osgood on Instagram. You are more than welcome to ask any question. My wife's going to be more active on this channel too, so we're going to be doing a lot more on asset management, which means less of you are going to watch my YouTube videos, because if I do a video on creative finance, it gets a ton of views. We do something on like, hey, make $1 million managing your asset. No one watches it. I don't know why, but just the way it is. It's okay. Matt, Lumberjack Landlord, actually does a lot of asset management as well, and he runs it completely differently than I do. So that's a good one on self-management. Watch Matt. He also has an online course that I believe is fairly inexpensive called Oh Shit, I'm a Landlord, Now What? It's actually a great course. I took that, and well worth the money. Message him directly, and he can get you set up there. That's at Lumberjack Landlord on Instagram. He's actually fairly responsive. Can you put in grace periods or late payment fees in your owner financing contracts? Yes. To help you not lose the property, or is it pretty much miss a payment and it's gone? So if you do contract for deed, it's a lot more like miss a payment and it's gone. You have a sales contract. If you break that contract, you can lose the property. You have to be very careful with those. They're done a little bit differently. You don't put a lien on title with a sales contract or a land contract or contract for deed. There's a million names for it. For those who have heard about subject to, it's on a land contract. That's why you're allowed to basically wrap around the debt. You can do subject to on there because you're not placing a new lien against the property. You're wrapping around the existing liens. There's also some fun things you can do on a land contract because you have no lien against the property, or at least not against title. You both show up on title. There's some creativity you can do with your debt products when there's no clause that says you can't further encumber the property. You can put first position debt on something that you owe money on a sales contract for, which is kind of interesting. That being said, that's the one where you worry about missing a payment, because those are a non-judicial foreclosure. On most of our seller finance, and by most I mean all, there is a grace period, typically of 15 days. And even if we miss those, you have a 30-day to cure any defaults. So if we messed up, something happened, note servicing dropped the ball, and a payment was missed, we don't just immediately lose the property. They serve notice that, hey, you are in default, and we have 30 days to cure. Normal things, it's very similar to how you'd run a bank. There's very few differences between seller financing and bank financing, except that you get to negotiate everything. Anything that can be negotiated can be put into a deal, as long as your lawyers both agree on it. how would you pull out equity from the property if it's seller finance and there is an investor that covered the down payment? There's a few ways. One, refinance with a bank. If we bought it for $1 million, it's worth $3 million today, we can pull out more than enough to pay back the investor and pull out additional capitals. If one of our LLCs, perfect example, 12plex. We put a new roof on it, we increased the value by a ton, leased it up. We pulled out money for all of us. Even though an investor brought in all the money, we pulled out money and we used that to expand. So we pulled out capital into the LLC and we bought a 10plex and a duplex with it. So we doubled the size of our LLC through a cash out refi by bringing it to bank financing. Another thing you can do is if you increase the value enough, you can go back to the seller and say, hey, I would actually like us to increase the amount of the note, and they can actually write you cash against the property. Now, does that happen all the time? Absolutely not. But some of your seller finance people, they have a lot of money. That's why they didn't need you to pay them off in the first place. We've gone back and said, hey, we're working on a project. If you are open to lending, we can increase the value of our note. Here's what we've done with the property. You show them the books and you show them the new value, and you can actually get a cash out refinance with a seller. These are all things that you can do. All right, changes the game. Thoughts on leaving some value add for sellers so you can sell with the value add lots of owners looking for appreciation. You actually want to do that. That's actually really interesting. Very interesting. Not enough people ask that question. If you plan on selling a property, which I almost never do, I did sell a 7plex recently, but if your plan is to exit the property, you do not want to finish everything. It is so much easier to sell a project if, I'm going to use an example, you have 25 units, you needed to renovate 10, you've done 6 of them, and you've got them to market rent. That is probably the best time to sell because you can sell to someone else without finishing the project, without spending the money. You can say, look, we've proved concept here. We are getting rent at what our pro forma is. We've done this on 6 of the leases. There are a few more units that need renovation. It is so much easier to sell someone on a project when it has upside. Are you going to max the value of what you're going to get for it today? No, but you don't have to spend all the expenses to get it there. I have found it's much easier to sell someone on a project, if there's a little project left to do, than it is to say, hey, the project's done. This is turnkey. You're going to pay market rent for it. There's nothing to do. That doesn't interest people. People look for value add and for opportunity. And if you can leave some opportunity on the deal, you can exit sooner, spend less time, and they can still get some additional upside by being a good manager of the project. And they get to do it their way. They get some ownership of it, but it is a much easier sell. It's actually very, very smart to leave some value add to get the deal done if you know you're going to be selling. We actually did that on the Tuckerville property. We renovated a lot of units. We leased a lot of units, but there was one vacancy, and there was 2 units that still could use a heavier renovation when the tenants move out. So they had a project that had some upside on it. We sold it. I think that's what got the deal done, to be completely honest. How do you pay off your debt quickly? By going through your business phases correctly. By the way, I'm going to do a very slight adjustment on the mic. If I lose too much volume, someone tell me, okay? Just in the gain. We're going to see if we get this just right. How do you pay off debt quickly? You go through your phases. You build first. Buy the assets that you want to own and build that base. That is the most important piece in the beginning is you need to lever to acquire. It's just what you have to do. So you lever up, you acquire, you get it done. You're going to stabilize. So you're going to make sure that all these properties are rented at or near market rent, that you've done the safety and the livability pieces so that you have no to very low vacancy in your portfolio. Stable, to me, looks like 95% occupied on a portfolio consistently with no breaks of that. Right now, by the way, we're at 96% occupancy if you don't count the hotel conversions, which are mid-conversion. Turns out an empty hotel doesn't rent very well until you actually get the project done. But outside of that, our multifamily portfolio for our purchased properties is sitting at about 96% occupancy, which is where we want to be. That's excellent. Means you're not so under market rent that people aren't, moving through, but you're pretty much just stable and optimized. Once you're there, you do the things to really push rent. So you paint the exterior of the building, you push values, you might pave parking. If you have septic, you might connect to sewer. It's the little things that bring it to the next level. You can increase rent again from there. And with that new increased rent, you've built what we call the debt hammer. You have enough income to just start railing the debt. What you're going to do is you're going to take your lowest dollar amount loans, so the properties you own the least amount on, and you're going to pay those off first. A lot of people go, well, just pay off your highest interest loans. Well, realistically, if you have a really expensive property and a large loan, you're probably going to refinance it before you pay it off to get a lower rate anyway. You want to save up to pay off a debt in full. You write a check for it. Could be on a little duplex you owe $120,000 on. That's the first one you pay off, and now you have more cash flow. And with that more cash flow, you knock out the next one and the next one, the next one. Build the debt hammer, then use it to hammer the debt. That is the only way to pay off a large portfolio. Otherwise, it just takes more than your lifetime to pay it off by earning it. Okay, everyone, thank you. You're doing a fantastic job on asking questions faster than I can answer them. So here I go. If an owner, seller, takes back their property, do you lose any added equity? Yes. And down payment? Yes. What happens to the investors? Loss of capital. If you lose a property, you lose the property, which is the collateral 99% of the time. Unless you personally guarantee your debt to your investors, which I rarely ever do. I have a few personal guarantees in the portfolio. What happens to the investors? They lose their money. Do not lose real estate. Now, realistically, what happens is something goes awry. I've seen people sell at a loss. You rarely lose all of the capital, especially for the investors. You're able to salvage something. But yeah, if you fail your project and stop paying your mortgage, you don't get to keep the equity or your down payment. That money is gone. That is what leverage is. It is risk. In the course, I heard of one of your mentees who bought a 12 unit, but only 3 were paying on day one because he didn't verify docs. Ha ha ha, yes, I know the deal. I think it was actually a 14 unit, if I recall correctly. How did he manage to get past this problem? He leased it out one at a time. Sometimes things do not go your way. Sometimes things don't go as planned. That is fine. That is a solvable problem. That was one where things did not go as planned. You look at the pieces you have and you go, okay, what do I have to do? He got in there. He actually worked on 3 of the units himself. So he was in the building, doing some of his own renovations, got a team to do the rest, leased out almost all of the building. And then he could not find a tenant for the darn restaurant downstairs, which we told him was going to be the hard part. What he ended up doing is he finished enough of the project where it started cash flowing, but it was more difficult than he wanted it to be. He sold it, creatively financed. He actually seller financed a good chunk of his equity to the next person, paid off the original note. He walked away with $100,000 and $200,000 on a note from the new buyer. So he ended up making about $300,000 on the deal. Technically, did not answer the question of how do we own it, how do we never lose it. So eventually, did not keep the deal. However, got creative and had a very profitable exit. He could have kept it had he done more due diligence. It would have made more money. But again, you don't just lose because things don't go as planned. You adjust your pieces. We've had tons of things that didn't go to plan. Robin Hood Village Resort. We bought a whole resort on the water. Turns out way harder to run and more expensive than we thought. We've had to adjust pieces, and the deals worked, but way harder than we thought. Sometimes you pivot, you adjust, you change your plans, just don't give up, and you usually do fine. How much do you spend on marketing? How do you market your apartments? Not YouTube channel or mentoring. Yeah, YouTube channel. YouTube and mentoring cost a lot to market. Those are expensive. Marketing apartments, how do we do it? Well, marketing doesn't cost me really anything. The best marketing we have is it's on Facebook. Facebook Marketplace, post it, gets rented. Our property management software basically pushes everything out to a whole bunch of sites, rent.com, apartments.com, Zillow, and it shows up everywhere. They call it syndicating out to different sites. Generally speaking, the free versions of that and making sure that we show up on Facebook Marketplace and are posting, and then it goes direct on the website, is all we need to quickly rent all of the units. It happens consistently, and I've seen this happen in multiple markets. I own in Washington and Texas. the same strategy works the same just about everywhere. The actual fee, so if we assume that, even though I own PM, assume that you're paying your property manager to do this, I do a flat $500 to lease a unit, regardless of what the lease is. I don't do a percentage of stuff. I think that's bogus. $500. So your cost to have your property manager spend their time, pay for a little bit of advertising, spend employees' time on getting a marketing package together. If you're going through me, it's going to cost $500 to market it, find a tenant, get a lease, screen them, get it done, get them placed, and keep them placed. $500 gets it done. From Matt, good to see you, my friend. Talk about someone who's actually good at hospitality. This guy knows how to play the game. Matt Barge is worth knowing if you don't know him yet. Did you have to submit architectural plans to the city to get approval for the conversion? We did not. Now, if you are doing a newer hotel or you're building, you're going to need to have really expensive sprinkler systems which does require some architectural and is quite expensive. These are grandfathered in and pre-approved by the city. So the city actually asked us to put in sprinklers. I said no, and they said, well, we really don't want this junky, failing motel in the middle of our main area. So if their deal is if you can commit to making it look nice on the outside and not be an eyesore, we'll grant you what you want. That goes back to the Chris Voss book, Never Split the Difference. Just be a good negotiator. Not every city is willing to work with you, but this one we're solving a legitimate problem for the city. They asked for something. I said no. They came back and said, okay, well, you got us. Let's go ahead and roll. So that's how we did that one. What would be a good framework for the pitch to investors? What should I include? Pitching to investors is the simplest thing in the world. If you have a good deal, this is why we do deal debt equity. Pitching to investors looks like this every time. Don't tell them the math. Tell them the project. They're going to be bought in and wants to join you on an adventure. Investing should be fun. If you have a picture, bring it up. I want to buy this building in this area. This is why I love the area. This is why the building would be really cool. Like, this is what I love about the building. Then you go pitch all the problems, because you make money solving problems and you're going to overcome all of their objections before they can make them. So you go, here's the building. This is what I'm excited about. This is why I love the area. This is where I see opportunity. Now, here's the actual opportunity. It's under market rent. And there is a serious problem with the roof. We're going to have to get a new roof in the first little bit. And when we do this, I think we're going to push the value to X. And when they show some interest, you go, let me show you why I think this is going to work. And then you bring up the numbers, and you're answering a few questions here. First, you're getting buy-in. And you get the buy-in before you answer all their questions. The questions that an investor needs to know is, one, is my money safe? Like, how is my initial capital coming back? And so you need to have an answer for that. When you put in $100,000, here is how you are backed, and here is how this money is coming back to you. Second, they're investing. How are they getting their return? How does that make sense? You're going to show that in the math. Here's the cash flow day one. Here's the cash flow by the time we exit the property or by the time we finish the first set of projects. This is how your return is going to happen mathematically. If you can show someone, I have a property that is interesting and you would like to own, I have a venture you want to go on, your capital is safe, and I'm going to make you money. If you can communicate those things, which are very easy to communicate, that's everything you need to include in your pitch. What I'm buying, what is wrong with it, how we make money by fixing the things that are wrong with it, show them the math, done. We have raised $1 million in capital in a 7-minute presentation. No slides, no pictures. That was the Robin Hood Village Resort. We have a resort. We've never done a resort. I think the owners are doing a crazy bad job of, not crazy bad, just crazy different job of managing it. And I think the way we would manage it is going to make it a better and more profitable asset, which we did. We raised income on it actually significantly. And we just massively increased expenses. In January, we almost exactly halved our payroll expense with a change where we actually pay our best employees more and our worst employees less. We had a structure that worked and we saved a bunch of money. But as you become a better operator, we communicate, here are the operations things that we're changing. 7 minutes into that conversation, we said, hey, we'd like to bring in no more than 4 investors with a minimum investment of $250,000. Their answer, we're not comfortable having other partners. What would it look like for us to fund the whole deal? We said, oh, it'd look like a check for $1 million. And then they wrote a check for $1 million, and that's how we bought the Robin Hood. That is how you pitch. It works almost every single time. Matt, were there other building changes you had to make besides not doing the sprinklers, such as fire safety requirements? Electrical permitting. We had electrical and plumbing because we had kitchenettes. So we had to get permitting. Well, the fun thing is we got plug-in kitchenettes. We got like plug-and-play ones that look really nice. And we were actually able to use the existing outlets. So we didn't have to get an electrical permit, which was awesome. I thought we would. We budgeted for it. Our new one, our 33-unit hotel, the one that's the topic of today's discussion, that one, panels have to be replaced. There's Zinsco, and the way they're wired, they have things double, triple tapped. The breakers trip all the time. You have crappy old breakers that are completely miswired. So that one will get new electrical panels in the whole building. That will absolutely be permitted. So not necessarily structural, but a big deal. That one also has the galvanized plumbing. So not a problem yet, but we know for a fact it will be a problem within the next 10 years. So we are working on the plan of, as we renovate units and go through walls, if we open up a wall, change the plumbing out, and then anything that we don't get to, once we get the whole building leased up, the first project we do is, hey, we've already done the electric, let's knock out the plumbing. It's another building that is concrete block. So you have this big impervious building. If you fix the plumbing and electric, most of your problems are gone. Like you pretty much have a finished building. We'll also have to do some work on the roof, which will need a permit as well. Not a lot, just they have a little valley area of one of the roofs that I want to redesign a little bit. It's a small portion of the roof I want redesigned, but it will have to be done. If you were going to a new market, how would you learn it step by step as quickly as possible? This is going to be the most cliche thing that I ever say, because I say this all the time. I would find everyone in the market who's done what I want to do, and I'd meet them and I'd learn how they start their business. It is a relationship game. Everyone I have met doing creative finance and buying real estate did it through relationships. That is the name of the game. That is how you play. So the first thing I do in any market is I meet the players. And I can guarantee you, and I've done this before as an experiment, I dropped into a market in Texas, found a deal. You could drop me into any market in the US, 100%. If I spent 1 month there, I can get a fantastic deal under contract with low down seller finance terms. I could raise for it. I could do it without any contacts on my cell phone, without any money at all. I mean, give me $200 to file a LLC. I have to be able to get the ball rolling. But realistically, I could drop in any market in a month, find some way to get someone to give me $200, wrap up the deal, close it. That would be how I do it, though. Boots on the ground, first thing, hands down. Hop on Google for free and figure out who owns the buildings that I would one day like to buy. Immediately book coffee meetings with all of them. We bring him up on the channel all the time. He's a very popular guest speaker with us, Caleb Hummel, one of our OG mentees. He dove into he's living at one of his properties. Within 1 month, he got a second deal in his market under contract. He has 3 more available. He met every single significant player in his market within 30 days. He did an owner meeting basically every day. It is not that hard to do. Anyone can do this. He's a young kid who learned to play the game with us, took the strategy. He did what we did in a couple of years in a few months. Absolutely insane. I would do the same thing Caleb did. I know you preach deal to equity, but can you always build out a contact base of interested parties beforehand, such as who, when, how much, rates, to discuss partnership, etc.? Yes, I wouldn't discuss partnerships personally, but the rest of it, yes. You want to share. We talked about the circle drill on Multifamily Strategy. I think we've got some YouTube videos on it. It's a staple of the course and the mentorship. You map out your actual, you start with a relatable point. So you map out your life story. You map out where you're going, which is your goal, and what happens when you get there, which is the significance. If you can map this out, communicate this in 45 seconds or less, you can really relate to and get buy-in from a lot of people. You want to do that with as many capital partners as possible. As you're meeting with people, you get very good at simply and easily relating to them, communicating, well, this is what I'm trying to build and why I'm trying to build it. And they get to know you and they get invested in you. And when you have a deal, your job is to be mapping out the circle drill of everyone else. And I keep this in an Excel sheet, a huge Excel sheet. When I talk to people, I map their circle drill. All my questions are based on, who are you? How did you get to where you're at? Where are you trying to go? Why are you trying to get there? I'm not asking it exactly like that, but that's the flow of every single conversation. If I have that mapped and I have a deal that matches their circle drill, you take the deal and go, oh, it has this much cash flow, it has this much upside, it's in this market. This moves them closer to their goal. Say they're trying to build $10,000 a month cash flow. I found a deal that's going to get them to $2,000 a month, and it's in the area they want to invest in, right size building, and might have some really cool tax benefits attached to it. I can call them and say, hey, I remember you talked about trying to mitigate some tax. You're trying to build $10,000 monthly income. I found a deal that's going to get you a fifth of the way there, and I want to do it with you. This is what I think it would look like. And you go into what we just talked about. Here's the deal. Here's what's wrong with it. Here's the upside. Here's what I do with your capital. This is why I think we should do this together. It's like magic. So you want to be building those relationships 100%. I would not discuss partnership because you don't know what you're lining them up to yet. You map out all those pieces, then you find the deal, and then you match the deal to the people whose pieces match the best. Just got off a call today, raised $75,000 for a deal that I'm working on recapitalizing and switching out some partners on. On that deal, I found someone, and it was perfect. They are selling a smaller building. We're trying to cash out. We have too many partners on a building. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. We also want to do heavier renos than we originally did. So I'm having a new investor buy in. He lives in the market that we're doing the property in, which none of the other investors do. I have a local person who sold out a building, trying to get into bigger buildings, and I have a bigger building to swap him into. I just needed to bring $75,000 to the table, and so in that phone call, we did exactly this. But I didn't talk to him about partnering before I mapped out a circle drill. This is someone I met a year ago. Something to note. And we're going to probably make a lot of money together because it's a good deal. It's a really good deal. Eric, when you're trying to get the zoning switch from a hotel to apartment, do you have to have the architect approve the rezoning with the city? Generally speaking, yes. This one actually is zoned appropriately to be multifamily or hospitality, so we didn't actually have to change zoning. We did have to change the property's actual legal description, definition, how they treat that property. For a hotel, you have to have a hotel license and a transient license and all sorts of stuff in Washington State. Hotels are kind of a pain. To get it considered multifamily, the city is going to have to do some permitting. So it's not necessarily a rezone for this one, but it is a re-permitting. We did not have a large review of architectural plans. Not for this one. You often do. The 33 unit, they were already starting the conversion, and it is appropriately zoned. All it was basically a notification to the city of, hey, we're going to do this. Are you guys going to stop us? The answer was no. That's not always the case, though. Don't skip going to the city, by the way. That's your most important part of due diligence for the hotels. Make sure you can actually do what you want to do before you close. We did not do that on our first 24-plex because stupid tax. City actually wanted us to keep it as a hotel the way it was zoned, but they said that we're fine to do long-term leases, and the bank said they're fine to finance on a hotel that has long-term leases, like it's multifamily. That's called getting lucky. It's also being stupid. Don't do that. Check with the city way before you close. That's one of your first steps. Go there and let them know what the project is and see what hurdles you have. We actually did check with the city. They said it was fine verbally. And then once we submitted things in writing after we closed, they went, oh, actually, no, we realize you're one block out of the zone. We really want to call multifamily. We'll never approve that. Get it in writing from the city before you do it. That's the magic. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, like basically the one of the next things here, Eric Burns said, my architect checked the state building laws and they would not allow it to convert to a hotel to apartment. So I just left it as a monthly lease, extended stay hotel. Yep. That is the key. That is all the converted motels that a lot of people didn't even go through the rezoning or declare anything. They just did month to month leases in a hotel. We like to go all the way and do it correctly. And I love long-term leases and the stability, and it has been a really good thing to serve the city of Moses Lake specifically, but it's going to depend on where you're at, what the strategy is. A lot of people leave them as hotels. Your advantage there is you don't have to, in a lot of places, you don't actually evict on a month-to-month stay. You can just basically just have the police pull people out if they stop paying because it's a hotel stay. It's not a actual lease. So it depends on where you're at and how the laws are, but there are advantages doing it both ways. And I apologize, I skipped a question here. So how much do you look to spend on interior per room in Texas, what do you do about property taxes? If I'm doing a older building, which is what I've been working on mostly there, stuff built in the 70s, we're spending about $6,000 a unit right now to do the turns. It's flooring, update lighting fixtures. We've replaced a lot of cabinets and tile backsplashes, and then paint the walls. Maybe fixed outlet here and there. Very simple. $6,000 seemed to be the average. In Washington State, I usually spend a little bit closer to 10, but I also have done a little heavier renos in Washington because I'm nearby. I'm more comfortable taking on a higher lift for the value add projects. But Texas, I found 6 is a safe budget. We usually come in underneath that, which is good. Eric had more on his. This is what I get for jumping around. So he did not get the building permit to go from hotel to apartment because no handicap access and ability of sprinklers. Will bank reappraise it as an extended stay hotel? That is one to work through with your bank. I actually have a really good mortgage lender for myself in Washington State, a mortgage broker. They will find the right product. So depends on your bank, depends on what you put together, how they want to lend. But some of this, there's actually a classification for it in Washington State. It's not called affordable living. What is it called? It's like economical units. That's not the exact right word, but it's something along those lines. And banks just are eating them up right now. They love these micro unit things to lend on. It's really weird. I think it's strange, but I have a few banks who want to add this type of thing to their portfolio, and they're willing to be creative on how they put it together. Interest rates on them are about half a point higher than conventional, if you're going to go do a multifamily loan, but their LTVs are the same. So I'm getting the same valuation as a multifamily building. I'm getting a very similar loan to value. It just affects DSCR a little bit because it's slightly higher interest. At least that's what I've been seeing in my market. I am not saying for a fact that that is everywhere or consistently everywhere. What utility efficiency upgrades do you get? Utilities, one of the first things is I always build back utilities before I raise rents. If utilities are being built, that's one of the most efficient things to do. But if you're looking for actual upgrades we do, I like septic in my area just fine. It's cheaper than sewer by a lot. So if there's no problem with the septic, I leave that. I don't worry too much about utilities though in Washington State, Grant County specifically. We have some of the cheapest water in the country, and we have the cheapest electric, period, in the country. There's no other county that has less expensive electric. We're really close to the Cooley Dam. It's all hydroelectric. It is very efficient, very, very, very inexpensive. So I worry less about it. What I do is try to bill that appropriately to tenants. If you are separately metered, that helps. If you're master metered, sneezing on a live, my apologies. If it's master metered, then we just look at what is the average throughout the year, and we just bill it into a utility fee into the lease. That's generally how we do it. Pretty simple. Do we use different local property managers for all of the different properties in different towns? No, I not manage everything in the state of Washington, which is a majority of our portfolio. I do have a different property manager for my McAllen property and my Laredo property. So I own on the border of Texas. Each of those are far enough apart. I do not advocate for buying small properties in different markets. However, that's how I got started on the border towns. I bought into an existing portfolio, replaced a partner on a failing partnership, and that is how I entered the Texas market. So it's just how I got started. I don't recommend that as the strategy. I like having everything in one house. If there is a good PM that manages both markets, I will change in a heartbeat. You want as replaceable parts, you want as few individual unique parts as possible. Consistency is key in scaling. How do you keep up to date with new regulations and laws? In Washington State, every time they release something, I know about it. We have something called RAWA, and it is I can subscribe to it, but it's a huge legal database. And they go through all the updated forms, the news. They represent landlords in court. We are very active in that group. We advocate for great laws, things that protect tenants. We're not just trying to do everything that's landlord friendly, but we have a state that does some ridiculous stuff. Example, Washington State keeps pushing for rent control. Rent control hurts tenants. This has happened in every single market, everywhere. Landlords, either if you buy a fixer-upper building and you can't increase the rent because of rent control, you end up with very slummy properties that fall apart. There's no one who will buy it, and it ruins the unit. So you end up with slums. Every other upkept building will raise to the maximum. So say you have a 5% max for rent increases. Landlords are too scared of falling behind. They can't afford to fall behind. So everyone in the market will increase by the maximum amount of rental increase allowed every single year. And they'll always push really hard to max rents, because if you miss maximizing rents, it will take you forever to catch up. Rents skyrocket when you do rent control. It is bad for tenants. So we always advocate against those things. It would help us, but we want the best things for tenants. Then we also want some just common sense things, like we can't evict, or we can't screen for a lot of criminal things in Washington State. We obviously don't want to rent to dangerous criminals if we don't have to. So we work on those things. But RAWA keeps us up to date on laws. They advocate, and we're very, very active with that particular group. When you buy seller financed multifam, do all of the deposits come with it? Yes. If they have separately held account deposits like security deposits, prepaid rent, anything else that is not the owner's money is going to be transferred just like any other sale. With the Robinhood, we got some of the gift card stuff transferred and any of the prepayments for weddings. It's just part of the project. When's the recession coming, in your opinion? My crystal ball is as good as anyone else. I care so little about this because we do long-term cash flowing fixed rate debt. I do not care what the market does because I get paid the exact same no matter what. My equity and net worth will fluctuate up and down with the market, but I'm not investing for net worth. We're worth a few million, and we'll be worth a few less million if the market crashes. It's fine. What will not change is our expenses. Income doesn't change massively even in a recession. Rents typically do not go down. They might stagnate, but they don't go down. We're set to weather the storm. That being said, when is it coming? I do not think there is a major recession about to hit. I am looking at the economic factors that I am seeing. We have a fairly stable economy. We're still overprinting money, which is awful. But I am not seeing the factors that say we're about to implode. We'll see what happens, but we're seeing rates start to stabilize. A lot of what the Fed did appears to have done what they wanted in a reasonable timeline. They've got somewhat of a handle on inflation. I think they're going to lose control of it again. But for the time being, rates are coming down and should continue to come down over the next couple of years. I think we actually kind of stabilize. Best guess. We will have a recession in the next decade, and I think that will probably be followed by a massive, massive increase because we tend to print our way out of those. But we'll see. We'll see. Are your buildings not under the same LLC? No, I have 27 individual LLCs for the properties and the businesses. And we have a ton of different LLCs because we have different partners. You can't have different partners in the same LLC. So each partnership needs to have its own LLC with its own operating agreement, its own players, its own bank account. It's how you avoid commingling. I have seen people dunk a whole bunch of properties in one LLC, and their books are a mess. You want to keep the books separate. You want to keep everything clean. You want to keep the partnership separate. The way that we buy, since we did a lot of joint ventures in our creative finance, we had to have a lot of LLCs. Is it the best way to do it? It's the best way to do it for us. Different people have different strategies. Legal strategy, always leave that to your lawyer. How do you evaluate pro forma? Well, pro forma is where the property could get to. Pro forma is made up. You want to be very conservative when you're making your own pro forma. Where do I think things will be if nothing increases, the market doesn't get better, cap rates don't come down? If I'm just looking at, okay, in 5 years from now, if we get today's market rent, that's probably a pretty good way to look at a pro forma if you're making it. If someone gives you a pro forma, I don't care. I want to see what they can prove they've done. If someone says, hey, you can get rents to $1,250, but all the rents are $700, their pro forma is garbage. If they have, say, a 10-plex and 4 of the units are actually at $1,200 and the rest are at $750, they're telling you, hey, I think you can get rents to $1,250. That's a reasonable pro forma. I can look at the books and say, hey, this is attainable. They've done it 4 times. I'm going to imagine we continue to do that. That's how I look at a pro forma. What's realistic and what have they proven that can happen, not what do they think will happen. I don't care what market rent is. I care what rent is at that property. Will we be able to get bank debt on a stable multifamily refinance even if I've never owned a house? Yes. especially commercial. If you're talking multifamily 5 and up, this is the first year in 2 years I've qualified to buy a house, and I actually haven't qualified yet for my house in Texas. I finished the loan when it's built. They wanted 3 years of my business taxes because my first year I started, business didn't process enough money. I would not qualify to buy a house, and I bought $30 million of commercial real estate and refinanced $5 million of it into bank debt. It's just how it works. Commercial is easier than residential as far as qualifications is based on your ability to run the property and how the property performs, more so than you as an individual. If you've never owned a house, if I tried to close on a house today, I would also not qualify. And to be fair, my income is fairly insane. We've built several businesses that work very well, but the rental properties make a lot of money. It does not matter until I get my taxes filed this year. What do you do about property taxes in Texas? Can you get exempt? Property taxes in Texas are higher, and it's factored into the pricing. Properties are cheaper. This is true for everywhere. There's insurance is ludicrously high in most of Florida, but the properties cost less than in Washington. Now, some areas are just more expensive than others in proportion to the rent, but generally speaking, that's what you're looking at. Property taxes in Texas are they're about twice what they are in Washington. The only bummer with that is when you pay off a property, it's a recurring cost that stays with you forever. That is a factor, and that is a bummer. Outside of that, though, Texas is cheaper because your expenses are higher. You have a higher expense ratio. But as an example, I am selling my, 1,300 square foot house in the greater Seattle area. The house I'm buying in Texas is almost 4,000 square feet, and it is $150,000 more expensive. $175,000 more expensive than this house. You just get a lot more real estate in Texas for less money. Market's balanced. People don't just buy bad deals anywhere, so I wouldn't make your determination on how high are individual expenses. Price, expenses, income are all things that get weighed together, and what you're looking for is cash flow and a high DSCR. On Instagram here, why are you moving to Texas? Have you seen the weather in Washington? You got to be kidding me. This place is cold and rainy, and I hate it. And I've lived here for all 31, soon to be 32 years of my life. I turned 32 in 10 days. I've been here too long. I want a new adventure. Also, their food is better because I love barbecue. We don't have great barbecue in Washington. In fact, we have terrible barbecue in Washington. This is expensive. It's politically unfriendly for businesses. It's politically unfriendly for landlords. It's cold. It's dreary. And I want to go where people are friendly, the weather is sunny, and the food is delicious. And so Texas checks those boxes for me. Also, saw that you're coming to Atlanta with Tim Stone. Yes, I am. All of my Atlanta people, please join us. I'm going to be in the Buckhead area. I'm going to be posting today on Instagram at Christian Osgood the details of that. I just got the information on when, where, how to sign up for that. I'm excited for that event. I love Atlanta. It's been a long time since I've been there. I do not make it there enough. I would love to see as many people as possible. Please make it out to that event. Keep an eye on my Instagram. I will post tonight on that. I promise. Do you guys provide internet with one single modem in your hotel to apartment conversion? Yes, we actually do provide hotel. We provide internet. That is an amenity that we have found leases up way faster. A lot of our competition does it. You got to stay competitive. We actually have, we also include, believe it or not, I got a really cool deal where on our 24 unit, up until all of the ceilings fell off because all the pipes burst, we have TVs in there that we provide that have Hulu. A lot of the units were actually furnished. So you come in, you have internet, you have Hulu on us. It was a pretty cool deal. Beautiful units. It's going to be fun to rebuild that building. But yeah, internet, we provide it on the hotel conversions, and that's fairly standard where we're at. Most people will do that. We just get better internet than all the other places. I got a good provider, and we pay for the good stuff. How much is too much to spend on CapEx to turn you away from the property? There is no too much. It depends on what the property is. If I have a property where we have $5 million of upside, I have no problem spending $2.5 million on CapEx. Do not care. I will spend $2.5 million to make $2.5 million. That is a no-brainer. So there is no dollar amount that would turn me away. You just have to have enough upside as a reward for finishing the project and the ability to put together the capital. Deal debt equity. How do you set up equity when partnering with multiple investors? You always want 50%, right? What's the maximum number of investors you work with? I want 100%. I'll structure all debt anytime I can. Cody and I, that 33 unit, we own it, just us. 100% debt, no partners. Great deal. Love it. That's how I want to buy everything. When we're doing equity, you have to go, how much are we backing them by and what is the collateral? So one deal, we're definitely not backing by enough equity, and this is why it works. 6 side-by-side units, duplexes, investor brought in $90,000, which was all the money down, 10% down, $900,000 purchase price. On this particular deal, we went 33, 33, 33, and Cody and I get all the cash flow. He gets bought out at year 5, a 2-to-1 to his money, so he's getting bought out for $180,000 at year 5. We're 2.5 years in right now. By the way, property cash flows $250,000 over those years. So real estate buys the real estate, even if we don't refinance. We go all the way through on the property, and he gets bought out. If we fail to buy him out and double his money, he gets our equity. That's the collateral. And he gets it at the prices of 5 years ago. He ends up with some stellar duplexes that have been very well cared for, getting very great rent, and we just sign over our equity, and he walks away with all the properties, all the equity, all the cash flow. So it depends on what you negotiate. Get as much equity, realistically, get as much equity as you can, and have a plan to buy the rest of the equity from the investors. Our goal is to own everything without investors. Cody and I are actively buying investors out regularly, and we move the properties vesting into our holding company. Cody and I have a super awesome hidden holding company that is just slowly just migrating all these properties into it and becoming a behemoth. That is the entity that's owning a lot of these hotel conversions. We're just buying these out, and partners are getting bought out because we put these clauses in. Get as much equity as you can while protecting your investors to the best of your ability. Back it with enough equity or a plan to do so. And they come with a plan to buy out the rest of the LLC and just own the real estate. Partners are hard. I hate variables. I trust Cody. Cody's been great. I've had partners who have been really hard to partner with. If you don't like variables, do fixed rate debt, do long-term debt, and eliminate every single partner that you can to own your stuff. And have as much equity as you can. What are you seeing for insurance increases for multifamily for you this year in Texas? Here, most people see 15 to 20% hikes. Yeah, that's about it. I think about 20%. Washington's seeing about the same, though. Insurance is just getting expensive. And next year, I think Washington's going to get hammered. We had the coldest year we've had in, I think, 30 years, might be longer. That's why we had so many pipes burst. Pipes burst all over the state. I know almost no one who didn't have a water problem this year. That's going to massively affect insurance rates. Insurance is going to go up next year, guarantee it. Crystal ball on that one is quite clear. I will predict the future. Insurance is going up everywhere in this state. On pro forma, I meant more when in completion, if others are paying more, expecting on the future, what would you do in this situation? Pro forma, I mean, when in competition, if others are paying more, what would you do in that situation? So if people are paying more, expecting on the future. I might need you to reword that for me one more time. I apologize. I'm not quite wrapping my head around the question. The Billy Bunch, preach it. Sunbelt, yeah, I'm ready for the Sunbelt. I'm so ready. My wife loves heat even more than I do. Bring me a hot Texas day. Give me 100 degrees every day, and I am a happy camper. I freaking love Texas. And I'm sorry, I don't get political on this channel on purpose, but holy crap, Texas politics are way better than Washington. Just every reasonable metric, it is so much more me. I know I'm going to piss some people off saying that, but I'm not sorry. I love Texas politics. They're quirky and they're independent and they like freedom, and I like freedom. What's your use for agents and brokers? Do you use them even in seller finance deals? Yes, I use Eric Foundation Group. I'll name drop him right here. He's the best broker in Washington State. I believe that. He's done a lot of these seller finance deals. I just partnered with him on a deal that he found. We're going to make $1 million. The mobile home park that we bought. Technically an RV park, but they're all permanent fixtures and they're all owned by us. That deal, it's worth like $1.2 million right now. We bought it for $375,000. After he put it under contract, he called and said, "Hey, on this deal, I probably should have bought this myself. As I'm realizing how good this is, there anyway, I get in on it." We've done 4 other deals with him. I trust him. I know he operates well, and I've seen his portfolio. It's very impressive. He brings more than enough to the team. I'm comfortable with him. We're making it happen. As a heads up for the next stream, your audio is still kind of bad. Not sure if mic's not connected. Okay, we'll work on the mic. We'll get it just right. We had this down a few days ago where we got the audio just sounding awesome. We will get the audio awesome again. You have my word. This mic is capable of working very well. I just have to get it configured. How do you figure out how much upside you'll get for your renovations? You look at the units around other buildings that are similar buildings. I mean, that's how you do it. See what they're renting for. Don't over improve. You want to be slightly better than your neighbor's properties at a slightly lower price. And if you can nail that, you'll basically never have vacancy. Coming from the single family housing market, what tools, resources do you recommend for running numbers on small multifamily, 5 to 24 units? We have a calculator in our course, multifamilystrategy.com, course and mentorship group. You can download that for free, but basically any calculator can do. Here's what matters. I like to know cash on cash return because that just tells me what does cash flow really look like and how much can I afford to pay a capital partner? How much flow is there to service additional debt or partners? I want to know debt service coverage ratio. That's extremely important because that's how much money you have after operating and servicing your debt. What proportion of your mortgage can you save? Really important. Really important. So keep that in mind. How well can you survive if rents decrease 10%? First of all, that's never happened ever. That has never happened. I mean, individual markets, you've had volcanoes erupt and people vacate. That's happened before. But rents actually don't go down. Rent growth decreases. Nationally, rent does not pull back. However, if it happened, fixed rate debt's good, but can't always predict rents. Yeah, that's why you cash flow with margin. On a 1.5% DSCR, you can lose a good deal of your rent and continue to cash flow. Again, doesn't happen, but if it were to happen, we would survive just fine without a problem. You need to have that margin built in. Over time, in the long run, rents will always go up. That's not saying they're always maxed. That's where it's at. Regarding insurance, use a portfolio business ins policy on my 10 unit, saving 20-30% on the premium, and includes increased liability coverage as well. Yep, portfolio policies are awesome. Oscar, thank you. I'm so excited to be a Texan. I apparently we can just choose our identity now, so I identify as a Texan. I'm not there yet, but I'm already a Texan. It's happened. What are you using the brokers for then? If you already found deals through meeting the owners, brokers find deals too. I get a lot of deals brought to me by brokers. Both hotel conversions were brought by the same broker. It wasn't Eric either. It was a local broker. He put together stellar deals, called us and said, "Hey, I think I have an opportunity." Different owners. Brokers have relationships. It is a stellar way to find deals. So I'm using brokers to do deals, like find them. I have brokers write them. I don't need to, even though I own a brokerage, my brokerage has only written one of my deals for me. When I have a deal, I like to reward the people who are finding the most deals. And if it's not my team, I'm going to pay someone else. Brokers are super useful. I love a good broker. They're going to protect you on the contract. They're going to write good contract. I was a licensed broker for years, so I actually know how to run a lot of this, which is really helpful. However, It's just been a massive, massive help. Hopping back over to the Instagram chat, by the way, Heiner said, Christian, you still here? I'm still here. I'm just, the mainstream is always here on YouTube. So the thing to do, you Instagram people, hop over to YouTube, Multifamily Strategy. We'll watch it there. Matt Frianco, any plans for New Jersey? Yes, the New Jersey plans. They're speaking on April 2nd. I'm actually on a podcast tomorrow advertising that event. But I'm going to be speaking with Henry Washington and a few other friends in New Jersey. Don't ask me the city. I don't know. It will be on the marketing stuff that I'm putting out. But we're going to be posting a lot on that. Stay tuned on the Instagram at Christian Osgood. And obviously you will see me there because you're messaging on Instagram. But watch my story. I post that all the time. Speaking in Georgia next. Speaking in San Diego after that. And then speaking in New York. Also, haven't announced this yet, but going to start marketing. I am hosting the first Multifamily Strategy large event. This is in partnership with Pacific Northwest Action Summit. There's going to be 250 seats. I think we're going to sell out ludicrously quickly. I spoke there last year. This year I am co-hosting. So this is going to be Northwest Action Summit and Multifamily Strategy. Very excited. That is going to be a big, big event at a very nice hotel. It's my first shot at running a multi-100-person event, but I'm doing it with a group that does this all the time. I would love to see a lot of people out there. That's going to be this summer, May 2nd and 3rd, 2-day event. Stay tuned for that one. If you want to get to meet me, my friends in real estate, the people who, like all my service providers who got me to where I'm at, I'm going to have as many there as humanly possible. Last question on Matthew. By the way, I'm going to be like super, super hyper busy when I'm in New York. I would love to meet you if you can make it to the event at any point. I'm going to be spending a ton of time networking with people. I'd love to meet with you one-on-one there. Whenever I land in New York, I'm there for like 24 hours with my wife, or I think 48 hours. It's going to be slammed, but I want to see you there. Hit me up when I'm there and DM me on Instagram so that I remember to message you back. Just shoot me a message right now. Last question that I see here on YouTube. So as always, I do a last call for questions. If you have a question, get it in here now because next time these run out, stream is over. Adios, y'all. Let's see here. Hear that, y'all? I'm a Texan. How much is insurance in Texas right now? I know Rob Beardsley, definitive guide to underwriting and raising private debt and equity. Do I know Rob? No, but I keep hearing Rob's name everywhere. I need to reach out to Rob because I've been told like 6 times I need to talk to Rob. So I'm going to get to know Rob. I'll commit to that. Insurance in Texas right now, the last deal I looked at, boy, I haven't underwritten in a second. I need to do more deals in Texas. Insurance in Texas, I saw a 25 unit where it was about $20,000 a year for insurance, which is pricey. Really nice building though, a lot of acreage, big buildings, all individual buildings, which are more expensive to insure. So you have like laundry rooms, 7 different individuals, like an ocean of 4plexes with one unit that has a manager suite in the laundry room. They're a little bit more expensive. How confident would you be with capital investor taking an equity position, giving you a few million to invest? Also, if they say no creative finance deals, would that be a deal breaker for you? I mean, it's not a deal breaker. I do plenty of conventional deals. We do a good deal of conventional, or we'll do private capital. There's a lot of ways to structure a deal. So it's not a deal breaker, but if someone has a few million and invest and they're not comfortable with creating your own debt products, I'm probably less interested because it sounds like they're going in before we have a deal and just setting restrictions that have nothing to do with making money, which makes me uncomfortable. At the end of the day, real estate is fun. I love providing housing. It is. I believe that we provide a very valuable service. I'm very proud of our teams. That being said, if you're going to come in and say like, hey, I'll put money in, but I want your deals to look like this and this and this, and I only am comfortable with this, it's like, okay, you're probably going to hate working with me. I'm in this game to make money. I am not in here to work with certain debt products a certain way. I'm going to do what makes every investor whole, makes the best campus possible, and does the correct deal the way it needs to be done. I'm not going to make an exception to that for anyone. So that is my take on giving a few million to invest. Can I use a few million? Yes, I can place a few million in like a week. I have the deals for it right now. If I had access to a few million right now and I had someone who I trusted, let's go. I am highly confident I can turn that 2 into 3 in like 3 months. But if they're just not going to let me structure my deals the way I want to, I think that's kind of silly. Probably not going to be a good fit for me, unless they have a very specific reason why it makes sense, in which case I'm all ears. I'm in DC, Northern Virginia area. If anyone ever wants to meet up, NYC is an easy train ride up. Oh, yes. I am really excited. New York. One of my favorite things about my speaking engagements this year is that I'm in the middle of America. I'm on both coasts. There are opportunities for me to meet almost everyone. That is my Q1 speaking schedule. I'm committed to hitting Florida. I never speak like middle of the U.S. I'm going to try to hit Arizona and Vegas this year. And I guess it's not really middle. It's like my side of the middle. I'll probably be speaking in Tennessee at some point, as Cody lives over there part-time. But those are all things that we're very, very, very excited and open to do. So you'll see a lot more of me. I'm very excited to meet with people. Cody is joining me in New York. Atlanta is me solo, though my wife will be there. And so, yeah, just let us know. Rob's got 6-year-old company, Lone Star Capital. Yep, very familiar with Lone Star. I just haven't met him yet. I need to do that. Over 500 mil under contract at 27. He structures things a little bit differently than I do, and assets under management and owning real estate is different. I think that's something that people don't fully realize. If you have a fund and you own a certain percent of a deal, not as fun. I own 50% or more of most of my deals, and I buy capital partners out very quickly. Usually I'll write a 5-year buyout option. I usually buy them out in year 1 or 2. I don't like keeping a lot of partners, and I like owning 100% of my real estate. And I have a partner named Cody, and some of my things have partners. One of the best investors I know, Matt Hawkins, has no partners, long-term debt, 30-year fully amortized debt on his entire portfolio. He has like 145 units right now. I like that. It's definitely not 500 million, but I like his model more than a lot of other people. He has less stress, easy management, and he makes 7 figures a year in his portfolio. From Eli, area gets hurricanes. I now know insurance coverage. By the way, I'm not talking down in any way to Rob Beardsley. He is a fantastic underwriter and does great deals. Do not get me wrong. Differences in end goal. Fantastic investor from everything I've seen from him. Hard agree. Good business person. Let's see here. Area gets hurricanes. I know insurance covers replacement costs, but could I lose my property if I had to rehouse everyone and can't get the building repaired in time? In my area, I cannot speak to yours. In my area, renters insurance will cover some of this, and we require renters insurance. So we actually, the rehousing is often covered by renters insurance or one of my own insurance policies. I also have an umbrella policy that makes it very hard to wipe me out. There's a lot of insurance stuff that you can do to mitigate that damage. That being said, I have a friend who is losing properties right now because they did not have the correct insurances in place. And with pipe burst, they've had to house too many people in Seattle. They have only 24 units in their portfolio, but like 20 people has being expensive hotels. It's going to kill their deals if they can't get it fixed, like ASAP. Do you have any events in Texas? 100% need to get those going. I want to. I need to. Caleb lives in Texas. I move into Texas. Someone in Texas book me. I usually speak at Dealmaker Live, which is coming up in Dallas. They did not invite me back this year. I don't know why. Love speaking at that event. But we won't be doing that one this year. So if anyone has a Texas event where they want me to speak, I will just do it. As long as there's 100 or more people. Anyone who has a meetup, an idea, make the connection. Message me on Instagram at Christian Osgood. I will just do it. I love Texas. I have every reason to be there. venture creative finance, he's out of country, may not understand it fully. I'll tell you a DM when I get more traction with them in the Miami area. Yeah, when you put together deals and when people put stipulations on them, they might just not be the right idea or the right person for your deal. Find the deal and find the debt and the equity. It's good to know you have someone who has a couple $1 million, but don't let that limit the opportunities that you're looking for. What property types do you look for to seller finance more distressed? What property types are there for more distressed, lower class? Oh, I see. More distressed or lower class. I look for, I really like value add projects. I look at a lot of entry level because we're really good at it. I look for things where I could see someone who's either getting into their first apartment or their last apartment. Like you need older folks, people who might be a little bit lower income but have stable jobs. I'm trying to look for those type of things. I do a lot of 1 and 2 bed, a lot of things built in the 50s, but that's just because of the market I'm in. A lot of the market was built really well. They have a really good build quality for 1955. Horrible electric, but outside of that, you have these really sturdy, indestructible buildings. I love them. I'm good at renovating them. That's what I look at. The opportunities that you have in your market are always going to be different. For me, in my areas, entry-level housing, brick, concrete block buildings, simple, easy. I can make them look amazing and do it again and again and again. Is Cody a long-term partner for you, or are you open to partnering with other people on smaller projects? Cody's a long-term partner. Cody and I built a lot together. I am always open to good ideas. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. I'm always open to good ideas. So Cody's a fantastic partner. I'll keep doing stuff with him. I don't partner with Cody in Texas currently. Cody owns stuff in Indiana with me that he has with other partners. They're not me. I don't even know who he's partnered with. But Cody owns other stuff that I don't. I own things that he doesn't. But it's always deal debt equity. And the circle drills have to align. I don't partner with people who I don't know. I don't have just randos funding my deals. I get to know people. I make sure I know their goals. There's no surprises in my portfolio. So, short answer, yes. Smaller projects, probably not. Smaller projects don't change anything for me. I have a few hundred units, except for the hotel conversion we're mid-process in. They all cash flow. All of them. Robinhood's cash flowing right now. We fixed some stuff. My phone is dead, so goodbye Instagram. We fixed our stuff. I'm not. Phone died. Processing. Loading. Train's been derailed. It's crashing to a small village. Okay, I got it. My train of thought is pulling back into the station. When I'm partnering, I'd partner on a smaller project, but I need to have a clear plan of how we're making that to a big LLC. I don't want a lot of partners. I want very few partners who are dedicated to building large portfolios. If we don't have a game plan to build a portfolio that has 100 units in it, I'm probably not going to partner. But I want to see people have synergies. Maybe they live in the market that I want to invest in. They have the ability to move capital in a way that I don't. But it needs to be balanced. Everyone needs to be able to pull weight. I'd love trying out a partnership on a small project, but it has to have a clear plan of this is how we're going to take this to a different level. Right now, a duplex or an 8-plex or even a 20-unit building in another market just does not make a difference to me. It doesn't move the needle. And the amount of headache that I would have probably outweighs the benefit. Would you rather have all your units in one property? Would you prefer that over, sorry, I have a message popped on my screen. Would you prefer that? Obviously hard to get a bigger place, but any benefits to not having it like that? I wouldn't want all my units in one property because what happens if something happens to that one property? But yes, the goal is to build, and then stabilize, optimize, pay off the debt on some of the small stuff. Everything else will get 1031 into buildings that are 75 to 150 units. And I want 2 or 3 of those in different areas. They're large, they have in-house management, and that is how you build a bulletproof passive portfolio that is generational wealth. How the game's played. Better than having tons of different properties, though, for sure. Could the real estate pay for the real estate? What do you mean by that? Do you mean that the money pays the loan, or do you mean the property is used? So what I mean by the real estate pays the real estate is you go ahead and buy a deal, either with your money or raised capital. You do not put any more money in the deal. Once you pay for that deal, that's the last check you write. Everything else, the renovations, the rent checks, the maintenance, the mortgage is paid for by the real estate. If you have to buy out investors, cash flow or refinance can be paid for by the real estate. So real estate buys the real estate means you buy it one time with your money or with someone else's money. But there's one time where money goes from your account and has to purchase the property. Everything else is done from the property's LLC account, and the real estate pays for itself. That is the goal of the real estate, paying for the real estate. Getting caught up. Okay. Tips for dealing with tenants. Be kind. Let them know what's going on frequently. If people fall behind in rent, be super immediate in getting through the eviction process. You can reach out to people, but in our state, I serve pay and vacate immediately. And a lot of times it just fixes the problem. Or they reach out and we'll work with them. Be kind first. But some people think they're being nice and letting people not pay rent, and then their buildings fall behind, and then they have massive problems. You don't want massive problems. That's not good for any of your paying tenants. If you just don't have enough money to fix up the building because half your people aren't paying, disaster. So dealing with tenants, be kind, have great communication, and be fast. If there is a problem with the tenant, deal with it immediately, as aggressively as you are allowed to. And when the tenant reaches out, work with them and be kind. Drugs on properties and stuff like that, we have that a lot. Hotel that we're buying or bought, few people right before close got arrested. I just posted this on Instagram. 2018, there was a drug bust, and the title was "Police break up drug pizza party," or illegal pizza party. That was it. Some people stole a credit card, ordered a boatload of pizza, and the police came in and they were just heroin and pizza. That's the place that we bought that we're fixing. Granted, there's not really any active tenants who are really bad right now, but there were a few weeks ago prior to buying it. You deal with it like anything else. I notify the police in our state. Police don't really do anything about it. We make it very uncomfortable to be a criminal. If you are not allowed there, you don't have a lease, I will tow your cars off the property. I'll put up cameras that actually recognize license plates. So it's like, well, you can't park here now. That's inconvenient. When there's problems, noise complaints, police always go to their unit first. They get consistent notices posted. We make it hard and not fun to be a criminal on our properties. And here's something that's true of all criminals. They will go somewhere where it is easier to be a criminal. If you make it inconvenient to do crime or to just be a bad person, they find somewhere else where there's less resistance. They're usually not these super industrious people who's like, I must live here and I must do drugs here. They want to do drugs there. They want to deal drugs there, and you're making it convenient. And the police are around. They'll just disappear and go somewhere else. It works 99% of the time. CoStar, Yardi, CoStar. I work for CoStar. That is not making me biased in any way, though. CoStar has its own problems. Reonomy has better contact information than CoStar, for example. CoStar is better than Yardi, just period. It's a bigger company, more resources, better research. You live off of only about $20K a month. Where's the rest of the money going? I live off of $5K a month. Well, I live off of $7K a month. $20K a month is a portion of my cash flow. That's my goal of what I wanted to build. We cash flow a lot more than $20K a month. A lot more than $20K a month. It all goes back in the portfolio for expansion, for buying out partners, for paying off debt, for doing renovations. 100% reroll. I pay myself $5,000 a month out of my one of my companies. $3,500 a month out of the other company. So I pay myself $8,500. No, $3,000 on the other one. I need to look at what I pay myself. I pay myself $8,000 a month, and I live off of that. Everything else just goes back into the business. It's Mr. Beast style. Reroll everything. Renovate, buy out a partner, market. That is all of the money. And we don't hold on to any money. It's rerolled immediately into the portfolio. I have cash, I invest it. Yes, I still pay taxes on income. However, The real estate income, no, not at all. That is rental income, and I have a depreciation and all sorts of other tax benefits to my renovations and tax credits. And my tax burden this year, because I am a real estate professional, should be $0. I have active income, but my write-offs are greater than the active income. Pastor or not, I'm a real estate professional, and I can prove that I'm a real estate professional. If you have property that you bought for 20% down, let's say $1 million, $200K down, and we're going to 1031 out, do you still 1031 the equity you have in the next property? Yeah. Yeah. That's what you do. You don't pull money out of the transaction. You're 1031ing, keep the money in the real estate, scale up. Ever felt like a criminal would bring harm to you? Yes, there's a few that I would not mess with at night. But I'm also a little bit more comfortable with the rough and tumble. I'm not saying that this is how you should run your portfolio. I don't always tell people this, but like I've had people break into my Seattle property before we sold it, the Tukwila building. We had a break-in, tenants leave, they swapped the lock. So I came in, and the second I saw them leave, I came in and I picked the lock and I threw all their stuff out. Is that a good way to get, beat up or shot? Yeah, probably. Is that a best practice? No. Did I solve my problem? Yes. That's not the first time that I've done that. If someone breaks into my building, I will go in personally and throw them out. That's dangerous. Don't do that. That's not a best practice. Sometimes I don't have time for it. I'm like, you know what? This isn't happening right now. We've worked too hard on this project. Usually it's on a newly renovated unit. Someone finds out it's vacant. They see a lockbox on the door. That's when they break in. Some of those happen. I just go in and I'm like, get out, not deal with it. There's some people who are pretty scary. Especially, it's usually on acquisition. We've never placed a tenant who's been really bad. But we've picked up buildings where there's people who have murder charges who I've had to deal with. Not super fun, not super safe. Go in pairs. I'm not a huge guy. I'm also not tiny. I'm a little over 6 feet. Most people aren't super physically. I also have a black belt. Most people aren't super physically intimidating. That being said, someone has a gun. You're not good. So, yes. What Eric said about syndicators having problems raising equity, Rob did say he has had struggle with it, even with good deals. What are the best tips you have struggling to get capital? Just network more? I have never had a struggle with getting capital ever for any deal of any size. I don't have a good tip for that. The things I've shared throughout this particular live, I think universally work, period. You find an opportunity, you find the deal first, you talk about the deal, why you like it, what's wrong with it, what changes, and then you explain to people, here's where your money is going, here's how it's secured. We bought $30 million of real estate. We have about $20 million of debt on that real estate. The $20 million, we've never had difficulty raising it, so I don't have the experience with struggling to get capital. In addition, no one in Multifamily Strategy has ever voiced any difficulty in lining up capital. People have been worried about it until they found their deal. And anyone who had a deal that they moved forward on that was a good deal, and by a deal, I mean just a deal that works. They don't have to be like amazing deals. Just deals that they pencil, they cash flow, they work. We have never had anyone ever reach out saying they've had trouble landing the capital or had a deal fall apart for that. So I do not have the experience to speak on that. We don't struggle raising capital. Our mentees don't struggle raising capital. But we're very, very, very strict on our policy of deal, then debt, then equity, always following that order. And I think it's just simple enough where it works. And that is what we have on the live. So I appreciate everyone participating. It was fantastic seeing everyone. We're going to go ahead and call this a session. Join again every Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to get on this. I'll keep working on getting my mic perfect for you all, so we'll get the audio nailed. But really appreciate everyone coming here, and we'll see you guys all on the next episode.